the idea of being your own boss and having an employee staff or, doing all these things where I didn't catch on till later on in life, right?
Like, you have to want to be something better for yourself and want. Business is not just eating a piece of candy or, oh, let me have some ice cream, or, dude, this is a business. Like, it's not just little kids playing around,
Right. What are 3 tips that you would say to anyone that's interested in pursuing this particular industry?
Just set a goal, set some goals for yourself, literally set some goals, like write them down. Like I mentioned earlier, 6 years ago, my goals were literally own a trailer. Now I own 20. So it's like, you make the goals and let the time go by and stick to that plan. Because, another thing is people get really impatient. People are like, I want to have that tomorrow. I want to have these goals tomorrow. Like, that's not going to happen. It's just unrealistic. So I think mainly is want it within yourself and then have a goal and keep setting those goals to attack and obviously as you complete them, set yourself some new ones.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Knucklehead Podcast. I am Malcolm McLeod.
I am Yusef Jones, since we're giving governments now.
And we are here with, I'm going to let him introduce himself. Talk to us, sir.
Appreciate it, Malcolm. Ernesto Fraga, owner of Next Day Freight Solution. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. First and foremost, this is the Knucklehead Podcast. What we do is we talk to those individuals that started from the beginning and elevated in life. It doesn't matter where you are, where you're from, who you're with, who you're around, whatever it is. It's all about you trying to get out of that next cycle, that rat race, that mindset,
that 99%
that 99% mentality. And the only way of doing so is being with like minds like Ernesto that's coming here to tell you this journey that he's taken and how he's gotten here. Listen to the message, listen to the conversation, and add it to your life. Value is powerful if you put work behind it. Let's get it. Yes, Ernesto, talk to me, man. Where are you from?
Okay, so we can get kind of started with I guess where I'm from. I'm originally from Cuba. I was born in Cuba. Parents lived there for like about 7 years, and after some time, they decided to come here to America. And back in Cuba, life was pretty hard, but my parents always made do. They had a bakery over there. And after about 7 years, we decided to come here to America, and they started a business here. I kind of started, living a young kid life like every other kid here. And, I want to kind of go back on Malcolm's point that everyone kind of has a fair plate when they begin here. It doesn't matter like your color, your age, where you're from. It really doesn't matter at all. Everyone has the same fair chance to make it and make something of themselves here in America, definitely. In America, we have that opportunity. And coming from a third world country where you do not have that opportunity, when you get here, you realize that, everyone's kind of has the same playing field to try to strive and be successful. So, I kind of really wanted to never let that chance go away, especially with my parents, being from another country. They kind of give up their whole lives for me and my sister really to just,
give you guys a chance.
Yeah, exactly. And give us a way of life here and a better way of life that kind of they lived. So a big thing, especially as a business owner, I think is like we always try to have a why or like kind of like a purpose.
Yeah.
My parents are my biggest like why I do everything.
Yeah.
They really worked their whole entire lives to provide me and my sister a better future. So that's kind of the aspect that kind of I take on like life and my business and everything. Like I have to make something for myself because my parents gave up their whole lives to just give me and my sister a better future.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the journey of how I got here. And then after I got here, if you want me to keep.
Hey, but no, real quick.
Yeah.
I like that because a lot of times when we think the 99 percenters, right?
Yep.
A lot of them make excuses.
Yep.
They have fair opportunities. I mean, at the end of the day, so many things are laid out for them, but they ignore it due to laziness or someone else. But to hear that you came from a third world country and now you're here and you're killing it, why if you can do it and why can't anyone else?
I mean,
and
you got
you're
it.
Here.
Yeah, no, that's right on. Like that's the exact point I was trying to get. And yeah, people do make excuses, especially kids like I would say my age. I'm only 26 years old, so kids my age, have a lot of distractions, I feel like, when trying to get through this stage of life. So it's definitely hard. But I think, it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of like growing up at this age to be like, you know what, I'm gonna still have my fun, but I'm gonna know what my priorities are in that same
grounded.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think a lot of kids like my age like don't know how to differentiate, have the difference between those two things.
Yeah, prioritize.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big thing with like, especially owning a business, like the business makes you be responsible. Like, or else you don't have a business. Like, it's really that simple.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. To kind of go off topic, because that's what I do all the time, how does it feel to be 26 and have someone almost double your age to dominate you in basketball like myself? I'm just saying.
It feels humbling.
Insider joke for the listeners out there. We all know each other. We're very close. We knew each other. We knew each other playing basketball. So that's what they're referring to.
No, but I'll tell you what. To follow that up, these are some old heads that can definitely ball right here. These guys, we have a good time definitely on the court, and you both are some ballers, so Absolutely. That's always a good time.
It's always fun, competition, arguments, all of the above, trash talking. It's fun.
So you come from a third world country. So how was that experience, right? Because a lot of people, especially the 99 percentile, to both of your guys' point, they come up with a lot of excuses. But you already, being in a third world country, you saw your parents actually have their own business. So what about that kind of inspired you? Like, man, as soon as I get to America, I'm gonna take this opportunity and run with it.
No, that's a great question. And honestly, it has to do with my parents. Because when you're at that age, I'm only, you guys gotta keep in mind, I'm only 26, so it's like, before that, I was really just a teenager and a younger kid. So a lot of those things that, I learned, some of it is myself, but when you're that young, like a lot of it is kind of what your parents teach you and, how they, teach you, to be respectful, to work hard. Like when my parents first got here to America, like my dad, I would go with my mom and my dad to, clean people's houses, to get garbage out of like office places. Like, I know what it is because I saw it and I, from my parents to like, have nothing and struggle and like, even then, my parents still had the motivation to want to be something here in America, or at least, have enough to provide for us.
Quality of life.
Exactly. So I think that's kind of, I guess I forgot your question, but I think I answered it, right?
Yeah, so it was more so like, being exposed to your own family, right? Because a lot of people, like I know me growing up, my uncle now, he owns a Chick-fil-A, but a lot of my family members didn't necessarily have a business when I was growing up. So like the idea of being your own boss and having an employee staff or, doing all these things where I didn't catch on till later on in life, right? So the fact that you were able to have those moments, even though, like you said, the environment may have been harsh, but those moments that you were able to really grind and be molded into the person that you are now due to your parents' due diligence and motivation, should definitely be celebrated.
No, for sure. I mean, right on. A lot of things like my parents, when they lived in Cuba, we owned a bakery. So they owned an illegal business over there because you're not allowed to have a business unless the government controls it. So we owned an illegal business, like hidden from the government on the top of like our apartment that my dad built. And from there we would, that was how we survived. How we made a living. Customers would sneak up to the house, buy their pastries, whatever it was, and, go on with their day. And then after that, my parents came here to America and, worked all that time my parents also, after doing the cleaning stuff and all that, they eventually started working at Publix. They both worked there together for in the bakery department for over 6 years. They saved up their money and we were able to start our own bakery here. So then my mom now owns the bakery here in Tampa. And, I also have that kind of business kind of aspect from my parents as well. And, during that time, I worked a lot at the bakery. I would, I was in high school, but my dad every Sunday would make me wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning and go and start baking everything for the day. He taught me and back then you're kind of you think about it now and you're like, damn, I hate my dad.
Right?
I'm so pissed at him. I can't believe he woke me up on a Sunday morning after I played video games till 3 a.m. I hate it. But when you get older, you kind of start realizing and understanding life a little better. And you're kind of damn, what my dad did might have just molded me into having the work ethic I have or the responsibility I have or, a lot of things that people don't realize or see in that moment that eventually later on in life definitely molds them to the person they are.
Absolutely. Now, you were saying your dad built the apartment, or what, the apartment,
The whole everything.
and what's on top?
Yeah, him and his brother, literally in Cuba. Yeah, just from nothing. Like there was a plot of land, and bricks by brick, they built the whole entire apartment. That's where our whole family lived. It was
Really?
our whole entire family lived there. And at the top, it was like a terrace, and in that terrace is where we had our bakery in the back, and people would go up the staircase to get their pastries and stuff for the day, and their bread and all that stuff.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Seriously, that I would love to meet your parents, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, they sound like superheroes.
Yeah.
And I think what's so like imperative about what your story is, like, this is like, again, you're coming from a third world country, establishing yourself with nothing. Like, so this goes out to a lot of the audience that are here. Like, guys, the opportunity to be successful or to do anything you want is here. Right, like you said, the work ethic and the due diligence is where it takes the most effort. Once you do that, a lot of doors kind of open up. Even us, doing this podcast, like I can't tell, we've had out of body experiences, and I'm pretty sure Malcolm would agree. Where we was like, dude, we didn't even know how this would work out, but we knew this is something that was calling us.
Exactly.
And then the God of the universe, whatever, he just aligned it for us. Yeah. So, man, I love your story. That's phenomenal.
I appreciate it.
I look at it from a standpoint of just listening to the brick by brick. I don't know why that just stands to me, right? But it shows, even at a young age, you're seeing that, hey, this is how you come from the ground up. Then, as a youth, so my stepdad used to he did landscaping. Every summer, there was no plane, no nothing. We were laying sod. Like, I know how to throw it and kick it tight, all that. That's you made me do it. But now, I come to the point where I'm like, okay, that I see why I work so hard. But I'm asking you this question, right? Because I know with me, I lacked being able to enjoy life. I had to learn that at an older age, how to enjoy life, because all I knew was work. Did you experience where you're like, man, you lacked something due to the fact of them having you wake up at 5 a.m. on a Sunday?
Nah, I mean, no, I don't think so. I mean, maybe obviously this is my personal opinion. It can be different, but I think my parents, always did a good job with us. Maybe we were just fortunate that my parents were just good parents, I guess. Right. But no, I never really felt like I was like not enjoying life. I'm very grateful for the life I had here. Very grateful for everything. Being able to, because people really think of it. That's the thing. It's like people aren't even grateful for like the basics. Like we see it as like, oh yeah,
you're entitled. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like dude, I'm glad I even I lived in a house and was able to go to high school and like stuff like that. It's like some people just their priorities or what they're thankful for or grateful for are maybe just different things. But I was fine. I came home to a plate of food with my mom every single day from high school, so I was fine. I was having a good time.
Love that. So tell us about your company.
Okay, so kind of a weird story with it. So my parents ended up splitting up. So they had the bakery, my parents split up, and that's kind of how I got into the trucking industry. So my dad then became a truck driver. My mom kept the bakery. So my dad became a truck driver, and at that time, I had just graduated high school, and I was starting at HCC, but I was not big into school. I mean, I really just didn't try. It was really all it was. I think school was great. My sister is in school and is amazing, and school is good. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and everyone I think should excel in it if that's their way of making a career. But after that, I was kind of just at HCC, really just failing on my classes, and my mom like kind of snitched on me and told my dad like, hey, put him, kind of straighten him out because he's just being reckless. So my dad then called me and just talked to me like sternly and was like, dude, you need to get your shit together. This is what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. I don't really know anything about it. So my dad at that point was just a truck driver. And he was like, hey, I know there's a way that you can get me loads and get a percentage off of those loads. So there's this thing called a dispatcher who is like a person who books the driver their load, basically. So that dispatcher will book a load for $2,000 and maybe for doing that, for the driver, he'll get a 10% cut. Mm-hmm. So you get $200 out of the $2,000 load. Yep. So that's kind of what I started doing with my dad. really not knowing anything. I knew nothing about dispatching, loads, nothing, trucks, literally nothing. I just went on the load board. My dad was like, figure it out, because there's no other way to do it.
Right.
So I was on there just looking for loads and figuring it out, and it was hard for like the longest time. Like no brokers would work with me. Like people would just hang up the phone. I was very nervous to speak to adults, and people like negotiate prices. Also, I was very nervous. So for a while it was hard. Like for like 6 months, like it was tough. Like I was not even doing it like out of my full potential. And after a while, I kind of got the hang of it. And
right.
During that time, I was still working. I worked at Publix. For like a long time, just in the deli, just grinding, just making my money, and that was really it. I was just wanted to save up money, and eventually I had a bunch of money saved up. I had like $10K saved up, and I bought a 53-foot dry van, which is like a trailer. So from there, I kind of just started seeing, okay, there's the trucking industry is huge, so there's so much stuff you can get into, whether it's with trucks or trailers or whatever it is, paperwork or agents, like getting a plate for someone. It's so much stuff. So, after a while, I started getting into the trailers, and once I got the trailer, I just rented them out to people. So I'd be, booking loads and also collecting my money from a trailer rental and stuff like that. And eventually we just grew the business more and more. We got more trailers, we got more trucks and more drivers. And, now we have like over 10 drivers that work for us. We own 2 semi trucks in the company, and we own over like 20 dry vans in the company right now. And they're all rented out, and yeah, just going good right now.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
That's good. And it started, would you say it started with you, within the 6 months, I feel like that's when a lot of people quit.
Yep.
For sure.
What made you not quit? And then listen, this is for the 99 percenters, just listen to what he says, because a lot of you quit the first week, but he stuck it out in 6 months. What made you not quit?
The thing, and you're right about that, like that is the quitting point. Like it's never going to work no matter what business you have. Like it's never going to work for the first year, 6 months. It's never going to. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to go through like the shitty times. But what made me kind of stick to it, again, kind of goes back to my dad. My dad was just really like, look, there's no other option. Like, you have to do this. Like, that's either you do this or you go fail in school. So you pick your choice. So I kind of just was like, one day I just kind of woke up and was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to give this my all, and I'm going to keep going until it does work. So I just kept failing and failing and failing and failing and failing until it did work. And eventually it worked.
Yeah.
It's really that.
Yeah.
It's really, like, it sounds really cliche and like, oh, that's what you hear all the time, but you hear it all the time because that's actually what happens.
Yeah, you're falling forward.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
falling forward. 100%.
Exactly. So, for a while, it got even harder to get loads, and we eventually ran into problems with, we weren't doing our safety correctly, and it was something that I had to learn at that time. Like, we had an audit on our company, and we had to learn how to get all our paperwork together, how to do. So it was along that time, there was a lot of things that would make me want to quit, but definitely just staying at it and just believing in it. I also really believed in it. Like, I was like, this is gonna work, and I had a lot of people support me along the way. My girlfriend at the time, currently my fiance, but she always just kind of gave me that affirmation, like, hey, it's going to work. Right. Just keep at it. Just give it another month. Just keep going. And, eventually it did work out.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, we talked a little bit about this before, the cameras are on. Right, so I've come across a lot of people that are looking to get into the trucking industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what are 3 tips that you would say to anyone that's interested in pursuing this particular industry?
For sure. I think the first step is kind of knowing what your plan is. You don't want to just kind of go into like I mentioned earlier, the trucking business is huge. You got to know what you kind of want to go into the trucking business. Right. Okay, there's a bunch of things. Like, you can start on buying a semi truck. Obviously, you would need a lot of money in hand for that. But on a smaller kind of scale, which is kind of the perspective I took at it when I started it, it was with the trailers. So like, I just saved up $10,000, and I went and bought a trailer off of Facebook Market, literally, like, trailer off of Facebook Market. Boom, you get it, you repair it a little bit, you put some tires on it, then you're renting it out with someone for let's say $600 a month. You'll get that money. If you run a 12-month contract, you get half of that money back in that year.
Course, yeah.
So after that, I kind of, the trailer was my in way and to to the bigger money, I would say.
Right.
So I started with the trailers because it was cheaper, more affordable. I can save this money up by just working at Publix and saving up 5-10K. And then after that, after collecting the money from the trailer, Publix, got another trailer. And after that, it kept on going. So I think for the biggest 3 tips to kind of not get away from the question, I think the first thing is, you don't really need much money, but you want to know kind of what you want to get into. So if you're going to do the trailer stuff, make sure you're aware of, the dry vans, make sure you're aware of, what kind of requirements are needed for dry vans to be able to rent them, get yourself a contract together if you're going to go that route. Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing is kind of knowing kind of somewhat into the dispatching market. So when you get into the trucking business, you're going to want to know about like loads, which is like the freight we move in the United States. So these semi-trucks are constantly moving freight from Publix to Publix, Walmarts to Walmart distribution centers. Like that's all like my semi-trucks do. Mm-hmm. So you kind of want to get knowledge of loads and, connections with brokers and stuff like that. And I think the last step is if you could go into just making a whole dispatching company, you could really just start by making these connections with shippers and brokers. Hey, I'm going to get you guys trucks that are going to move your freight. That's kind of how I started. Mm-hmm. And then from there, just build those connections. And from there, those brokers will give you a certain contract that you sign and you move these loads with. And yeah, I think that's really.
So you said an interesting term, because what I like to do is, like, if someone's listening to this, the audience that's listening to this, I like to say, okay, if they're how would they perceive this information? So you mentioned the term dry van. What does that mean?
Right,
what is a dry van?
I know it's kind of hard when when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, obviously I know all these freaking terms.
But this is why this podcast is so essential.
For sure. So a dry van is a 53-foot dry van. It's kind of where the product goes. So a 53-foot dry van is kind of what it says. It's a trailer that's 53 feet in length. Mm-hmm. So and in that trailer, you haul the stuff. It goes connected to your semi-truck, and you haul the merchandise from point A to point B.
Okay.
So that's a dry van. That's what I own over 20 of. So those are the dry vans that get attached to my trucks, and we move the freight with. Okay. That's what the dry van is, a 53-foot dry van.
Gotcha. So it's the in the box.
The box.
Okay.
The box is right on.
There we go.
The box is right on.
Yeah. So
for simpletons out there, because that's the first time I've heard dry van.
Yeah, it's the box. So it's not the one that's open. It's closed, so anything that's in it doesn't get wet.
Correct.
Or anything of such.
Correct. Dry van.
See, these are the pictures of all my dry vans.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I follow you now.
Yeah.
So they're.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not watching this, he's showing us it's an empty box. The box that you see attached to the front of the truck, that's what he's referring to.
And you see these trucks like all the time.
All
the time. And there's different trailers you can get into. That's why I say like the trucking world is huge. Like there's so much stuff you can get into. Even in trailers, there's different categories of trailers. There's dry vans, there's flatbeds, there's reefers, there's Conestogas, there's a bunch of different trailers.
Yeah.
So
So kind of to reiterate your 3 tips. One, you said kind of understand what industry or what niche specifically within trucking you want to go into. Because to your point, if you're looking at, like you said, going to the semi truck, if you don't have the capital to get into that particular niche,
exactly,
you're gonna put yourself into an unnecessary situation.
Yeah, and I think time is really important. So it's like if you're gonna go into the semi truck industry and you don't have the money for that, don't waste your time going into it. You know what I'm saying? It's like do something different, or go into a different route. There's even like paperwork you could do. Mm-hmm. A lot of tag work you could do, like plates and stuff. But I think the first point was what again? What did you say it was?
Yeah, it was. I was saying that kind of identifying what niche to go into the trucking industry.
Correct.
You want to kind of understand where your capital is at, what risk you can kind of tolerate, essentially, to get into it and have sustainability.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that's a good point as well with like managing your risk, because people think of debt, and obviously when you first think of debt, you're like, oh, debt is bad. Like, you don't want to have debt. Obviously, no one wants to owe people money, but there's a difference between good and bad debt. You know what I'm saying? So, even my semi trucks, like I finance my semi trucks. Like, I put a little bit of money down, so that's another route you could go. But you also have to have a lot of
inventory.
And like you have to have a good for them to approve you and get you a good interest rate, so you're not paying $3,000 a month for a truck. That the money doesn't add up there. But if to get a good interest rate, you got to have a good record of like income and, stuff like that. Which, and I didn't have that at first. Like, when I first started the business, like 6-7 years ago, I didn't have, my goals were the goals I have now.
Yeah.
So like my goals were like get trailers, get trucks, get owner ops, and now I have newer goals now to try to meet. But yeah, obviously it's not going to, spark from the beginning and, have that immediately. But I guess I don't know what would be the 3 other points. I guess the first one I made was kind of the.
Yeah. You're dropping so much knowledge here. It's just keep going. Keep going. You're fine.
Now, I know the trucking industry, but there's a lot of people that will be listening to this, right? And they're looking to start some business, any business, any business. What advice or what motivation, what inspiration could you give them to just get off the couch or get from behind that moment of fear? Yeah.
You know what? I feel like it's real easy. Everyone can sit here and tell you, I'm just a regular person. And, I think anyone, maybe your biggest superhero or your the person you look up to could be sitting here and give you those words. So it really doesn't matter. But I think it first has to start within that person. Like you have to want to be something better for yourself and want to, because you could kind of want it, but then you got to really want it to be a business is not just eating a piece of candy or let me have some ice cream or dude, this is a business. Like it's not just little kids playing around. It's a lot of responsibility. So I think the main thing is, first of all, want it within yourself, and I think after that, just set a goal. Set some goals for yourself. Literally set some goals, like write them down. Like I mentioned earlier, 6 years ago, my goals were literally own a trailer. Now I own 20. So it's like you make the goals and let the time go by and stick to that plan. Because, another thing is people get really impatient. Yeah. People are like, I want to have that tomorrow. I want to have these goals tomorrow. Like that's not going to happen. Yeah. It's just unrealistic. So I think mainly is want it within yourself and then have a goal and keep setting those goals to attack and obviously as you complete them, set yourself some new ones.
Absolutely. And I love that as far as like the goal setting, because that's what we kind of talked about.
Yeah.
I look at it from a standpoint of kind of setting a macro goal and then have micro goals that you hit, so that instant gratification of, tomorrow, it could be a micro goal where it's like, tomorrow, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come up with a name for the business.
Exactly.
And to accomplish that, now you feel great tomorrow.
And that's a good point, Malcolm. That's because that also helps you keep that motivation. And that's honestly a great point. I honestly myself have never really even thought of it like that. Because you do have those times where it's a gap where it's like that goal is not going to come for 3 years. So you're like, fuck, man, in those 3 years, like I'm going to get. What am I going to do? Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm like you mentioned, something to keep you excited, something to keep you like, I'm gonna keep going to the keep showing up for myself, for the business, and trying to hit these goals. I think those micro goals definitely would help someone make it to that ultimate goal.
So we talked about the fun stuff, the like you said, the ice cream.
Yeah.
Let's pivot a little bit and talk about some of the challenges that you faced, right, when you first when you were first starting, right? Yeah. So we're if they come to mind, the top 3 challenges that you had to face, kind of getting into. I know you mentioned that there was a bit of a learning curve, but outside of that, when you did have that first semi truck or that first truck, what were some of the challenges that you were facing? With the drivers, with the gas. Talk to us a little bit about that.
And Quan makes a great point because everyone can sit here and talk about the good stuff, but there's a long list of the bad stuff also, and that can definitely kind of knock you off your path. I would say a lot of the times. Because I think that's even harder than keeping up with your goal. Because you're like, man, I've been doing this. And but man, this just put me back so far. So yeah, I've had a lot of examples like that. I mean, I could list 10 million. Like, even with the semi-trucks, when I first bought my first truck, I bought a 2013 Freightliner, just an older truck. And it was my first truck. My dad's kind of letting me do my own thing. And I had saved up my $10,000. And my dad was lending me $5K to finish it out, to finish the rest of it. And my dad was like, hey, I don't think, I think we should have a mechanic come out here, check out the truck before. And I was like, nah, let's just buy it. We bought the truck. Eventually, it was a big mess. The truck engine was bad. I had to put almost double the money into the truck to then get it fixed and work properly. It's a truck I still have, But, you know, it was a big learning experience of like, okay, you know, but I think as much as we dwell and like we want to be like, oh, it's such a bad thing that happened, we want to take those and like learn from it. Like that's all we want to do, because that's why those things happens. And it's like, so, you know, after that, trust me, I'm never buying another truck that's like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I learned from that. But there's challenges. There's so many challenges. Another one I would say is owning the trucking business, something that's very scary and like you feel a lot of responsibility for. One, I'm in charge of a lot of people's money. Like I have to pay over a certain amount of money to employees and like people, the people who work for me, you know, so it's a big responsibility of, you know, making sure these people get their money on time and all that. So, you know, I've had times where payments have been delayed or, you know, and I've had to kind of have the challenge of explaining to that worker or whatever, hey, you know, this happened or whatever. Another big thing is like safety and insurance claims. Like I've had a lot of accidents where, you know, accidents just happen. It's just part of the trucking industry. Yeah. And, you know, it's been huge claims against the company and, like, you know, stuff I've had to, like, you know, fight against. And, you know, nothing, like, legally wise, but definitely some losses I've taken for maybe not having a contract maybe properly written out as well as I used to. But, you know, as those mistakes happen, I then arrange my contracts to fit the next person to avoid things like that happening again. So, yeah, definitely a lot of challenges. Trailers, just, you know, maybe even challenges with trailers are if you buy a trailer, you got to make sure it's in good condition, because a lot of these trailers you can't really test. Like when you go buy a trailer, if you don't have a semi truck to hook it up, and you can't really test the trailer, so you're just looking at a box and hoping it's good. So I've bought a lot of trailers that have been bad, and I've lost money because of that. I've had to put even more to repair it. So definitely a lot of challenges in the trucking industry.
That's funny you say about the trailer part. I don't know if I told you this story. I was driving. It was dark, and there was a U.S. postal semi. Mm-hmm. So we're driving, and I see, you know how you see sparks? And I'm like, I'm telling her, I'm like, hey, you see that? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. And I'm like, no, there's a chain that's sparking. It's like, oh, I was like, I'm just going to slow down. Next thing you know, you see a black thing go boom. The truck is going, but the black thing is all over the tire, and it's going fast. Yeah. So I slow down, and next thing you know, you hear boom, and it hits a car. The car's all over, and the tire's still going. Wow. And finally the truck noticed, and I kind of just stopped, and the tire's going, and then the truck kind of did something where he backed up and let the tire hit but it was too late. And it was a U.S. postal. Wow.
So, no, yeah, it's like, crazy. Wow. And especially on the road, because, you know, they're on the road like how you mentioned, like a tire can fly off, pop on one of my trailers, hit someone else's car, and then I have a claim against that car that I have to now deal with over us, so there's definitely a bunch of challenges in the trucking industry, but that's with everything. It doesn't matter if you're going to run a trucking business or a makeup company or whatever it is. It literally does not matter. The challenges are going to be there no matter what.
Right. Exactly. Prepare for them.
Yes, for sure.
Prepare.
And I think that's a great point, because I think a lot of people have this vision. Like we spoke with, we interviewed a young man a couple of weeks ago, and he kind of took the opposite route. Right, went through the whole corporate ladder, got to a 6-figure salary. Mm-hmm. Then like that, it got taken away, and he had to learn how to adjust through that experience. And it seems like you had a similar story where you didn't know what you wanted to do, but you knew what you had an interest in, and you had to kind of adjust and learn from those mistakes and those challenges. Yeah,
I'll tell you one thing I did definitely know, I don't know if this maybe comes from my parents as owning a business, but one thing I did definitely know from maybe freshman year or even earlier is that I was never going to work for anyone. And here's the reason why. It's not because I hate authority or I'm very respectful to my adults. I respect everyone. And when you're older than me, I respect you more. Just because you're older, you're more wise, and it's that simple. So, but I've always had this very good work ethic. So when I realized that I no longer wanted to work for someone, I was working at Publix, and I work really good. Like I would make 50 pub subs in the same time someone right next to me would make 2 pub subs. Wow. So I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna sit here grinding my butt off to get paid the same amount of money you are. It just makes no sense to me. The math was not math in there. And, at that time, at that time I was working Publix, and I was also working at another dispatching company for someone else who owned a dispatching company. But for what I did there, though, is I kind of taught myself more things about dispatching. And almost it's not, when you say it, it kind of sounds bad, but I worked for this lady, and it almost sounds like I like stole her work, but I didn't steal her work, but I learned working for her and growing her business, how to grow my business after that. Right. So I was like, okay, this lady kind of taught me everything I need to know with dispatching and stuff. So now I'm going to go do this myself, because I don't need to do it for her anymore. If I literally watch her company grow from when I started working for her, she had like 5 units in her company. By the time I left, she had over 30 units. I'm like, I'm the one who booked all these units and made this company grow. Why am I doing this for her? I'm going to go do this for myself.
Absolutely. So I agree 100%. I know with him, I don't know if I can put this on air. I know someone that
hypothetically
that will go and do work with a corporation and gain a mass amount of knowledge, and has hit a ceiling and say, see you later, and then gain another mass, and then just becomes like this superhero, like knowledge out this world that can run his own business and everything.
Right.
But the only reason they go and gain all of this knowledge is just to learn everything they can.
Right.
I know I did it when I was in sales. I did it when I was with T-Mobile, and I went to school for it. But when I went to T-Mobile, I learned everything. Like, when it comes to sales, that's easy. I tell people, just tell me the platform.
Yeah.
The other part I got, and I'll make you a hell of a lot of money.
Right.
Like, my company will make you a hell of a lot of money. Right. Trust me. But someone, I kid you not, like, I can be like, hey, this is. Well, oh yeah, man! All you gotta do is da 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 da.
You just
I learned that from this company.
Yeah,
So you're what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just knowledge you observe. You observe and kind of squeeze in. It's nothing bad. Also, because it's like you're working for these people, so you're getting. You can't help your brain like retaining this information. It's like you're the smart one for actually retaining. You'll have people go work at these jobs and then work at their jobs for 20 years and then get the same amount of money.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah. So it sounds like, and I like this phrase.
But
like
we need them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. you finally got behind like that curtain.
Yeah.
Right. So the magic, it's like,
yeah.
And we say this all the time, it's like making magic, right? And I always say, when you're starting a new business or you're starting a new venture, you're creating magic. Yeah, maybe you don't have that instant moment, but you're taking the time and doing the due diligence to see behind the curtain.
Right.
See how the trick is performed.
Exactly.
And then to your point, once you gain the knowledge and you can do the trick yourself, I can be my own magician.
Exactly.
I don't have to be your assistant.
And it's crazy because the magic isn't necessarily just given to you by the owner or whoever the business.
Oh, of course not. They don't want to make
They give it by that 20-year employee.
Yeah, exactly.
They be like, you could do this and this, and you hear it, you be like, what? You know what? Keep teaching me.
Yeah. Nah, it's crazy. But I worked at that dispatching company for a while. Maybe a year and a half. And then after that, like you said, I had all the tools I needed. I was like, it just made no sense to me, like sitting there and being like, you know what? In my head, I told myself this: look, I'm gonna fail, but if I'm gonna fail, that's fine. I'm gonna do it on my own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Terms, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. So I was definitely not scared of it. And also, you got to go with that feeling of like, if you fail, it's fine, because it's not the end of the world. That's the beauty of like being here and like in America and like having these opportunities to repeat it over and over as many times as you want. Like, who's stopping you? No one's there like, you can't do that. Like in Cuba, we had we had a sneak cake. My dad would make me sneak cakes.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's different. People don't realize that here though. Like, people are just kind of like you guys have mentioned the word complacent. Like, they just want to do the easy stuff, and anyone can do the easy stuff. But I'm okay with it, because I'm like, keep doing the easy stuff.
Right.
I'll make all the money.
Right.
And I think that's so pivotal that you're saying that, because everybody thinks that they're supposed to be a boss.
Right.
So there are people that are designed to be employees,
Right.
and there are people that are designed to be owners.
Right.
You have to understand what your purpose is, because you may be an amazing employee, but maybe when it comes time to you doing your own thing, maybe there are certain things, maybe risk-wise,
Right.
capital-wise, that you're not willing
exactly.
to accept, which is okay. That's why you can be an employee. But to your point, I think everyone should have some type of side business or something that they're passionate about to pursue, because to your point, I know there's a lot of people that work in corporate America when you finish your tenure there, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50 years, you might get, they don't even do this anymore. They used to give you like a gold watch
Mm-hmm.
and give you like a thank you card and send you on your way. Now you're lucky if you get a thank you card, right? So it just shows you how much times have changed from those employees to having your own business and operating. So, man, you're speaking volumes.
And not even, the thing is, what I've noticed is that when you're a tenure, at a certain point when they know they're going to have to pay you, they end up finding a way of letting you go.
Yep, you're the first person to leave the door.
Right, so to your point, we invest so much into other people's dreams, right? We invest so much into other people's dreams, and then when you no longer fit in their vision, you're no longer there.
Exactly.
So now you're at a standstill. So it's nothing wrong with corporation
at all.
Working with a corporate job,
and my fiance works at a corporate job. It's no issue at all, and she does a great job. She's a great employee.
Right, but on the other end, understand, like, for instance, for your situation, I'm pretty sure she backs you in things where she's great at.
Of course.
Hey, well, you know what? Let me fill out these papers. And all right, now, or she has some other passion. Have your passion. Have your drive. What does that look like? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just you got to understand that you're just a number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and another thing, like, obviously we're talking about, business, and we're trying to relate, the vision of the podcast, kind of for you guys, kind of relating to people who are trying to start their own business or kind of just do something better for themselves. You would, here I am, I own the trucking business and I've owned it for a while. And, I wouldn't say I'm like, people think, kind of look at me and they're like, oh, you're so young, you're so successful, you have so much money, you're so, and that's fine. Like, that's all fine and good. And it, not all of it is true. Like, I definitely am well off with the business, but I'll tell you, for a long time, I had like no money at all, like $0. I would be grinding every day. I would stay up super late trying to, either putting out ads to try to get owner ops. Everything. I was doing everything. I was going to people's yards and putting cards on their trucks to hire me as a dispatching service. I was doing anything possible until, I reached a point where I didn't need to do that anymore,
right.
So after a while, like, the work you provide kind of speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. So after a while, now the work I provide, one driver will leave my company, but he'll tell maybe his friend that, oh, I work with Ernie and he was super cool if you ever need a job, like, and then I'll get a call from his, that person later on. But kind of what I was trying to get into, I got off topic there, is that even at my stage, like, I started another business with my friend, like a detailing company. My friend just came up to me and he was like, hey, like, he works at Publix too, and he was like, let's start a detailing company. We bought a trailer, we got a detailing setup, and now, whenever I have the free time, I go and help him detail a car. I don't make a single dollar out of it. I don't ask him for a single dollar out of it. It's just the purpose of, like, investing in the business, putting the work, and now we both have a detailing business, which we're trying to grow along with me running my, my trucking business. So it's never like, even when you feel like, oh, I might have made it or I've reached those goals, like, never be complacent and try to keep going for more. I would say.
More work to do.
Yeah.
I love that. Now we know who to go for detailing.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
EMP.
detailing on trucks. It's going to hurt.
Easy.
Sorry to my detail guy. We just got plugged in. We knew Ernie a little longer, so I apologize if you watch this. Thank you for watching. Thank you.
No.
Start another business.
Yeah. So my last question, I always like to ask this question. And he knows it's coming.
Get ready for
it.
And
every guest, literally, right? I think I'm like 7-0 at this point. 8-0, some crazy
Hasn't
number.
been able to answer it?
No, everyone answered differently.
Oh,
but
okay.
The last question is, right, let's say tomorrow you achieve whatever goals you have set, long-term, short-term, you become super wealthy, super established, right? Mm-hmm. Now you have you've amassed all this wealth, all this fortune. Now, obviously, you mentioned before that you have a fiance. Mm-hmm. Congratulations on that, by the way. I didn't know that. I see this guy.
Nah, I know. We rarely see each other now.
Yeah, that's my guy. So my question is, right, you reach these pivotal benchmarks in your life, and you're like, okay, I have my family's well off, I'm well off, everybody's comfortable. Do you leave the rest of your wealth or what you've built to your family, or do you say, you know what, there's probably 10,000 Ernies that are in my position. Do I donate this either from my own organization to another organization and help people advance, like you said, because you were from Cuba.
Yeah.
So to make it more realistic, let's say you had the opportunity to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take my wealth and help the people in that third world country where I'm from. Would you do that, or would you leave the money for your family?
I don't want to change the question, but if my mom and dad, who is my mom and my dad and my sister that I consider my family, if they are good, then yes, all of my my fiance. Yeah. Well, she would be with me. So
okay, no, she won't be with you because you're no longer here.
Oh, so I pass away.
Yeah, you're leaving this. You're leaving this wealth.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man. So I would leave the money either with my wealth with my family or with help people that were in my position to do the things maybe I possibly did.
Yes. Or give them the opportunity at the bare minimum.
Dang.
It sounds like A to no to me.
Dang. I honestly, it feels like a question that I don't even want to answer because it's like
There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I know there isn't a wrong answer for sure, but I would give it to my family.
Okay.
100%. Just because of everything they've done, no one compares to my mom and dad. Like,
gotcha.
There's nothing that'll be ever put above that. I'm sorry, I hope everyone can strive and be successful, and I wish them the best. And if you put in the work, trust me, you don't need no money. Just put in the work. Because I had no money when I started.
He can show you the blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. But no, my mom and dad can swim in it, and my fiance as well, and my sister, and everyone.
Yeah.
In my family, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Definitely. I like the answer. I like that answer.
Yeah.
I like the answer.
Yeah. There's only one family. There's only one family.
Yeah.
Oh, he does too because he was with me.
Yeah. But it's interesting that when I ask that question, because sometimes we get a lot of people who are successful who do own these businesses, and they're like, man, that's a tough one because it's like, how far along would I have been if I had somebody to be able to provide those resources? But to your point, family is everything, right? So your family helped you through all the good times. It's like you got that. Yeah. It's like, for me, when I went to college, I was like, man, I can't screw up here. Like, they're taking out loans. They're taking out, I have to hold myself accountable. Exactly. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. Yeah. It's just fun to ask that question.
No, that's a good question. It definitely had me. I almost didn't answer it, honestly. It was a really good question. Yeah. But no, definitely my family. My mom and dad are the best, and they've definitely did a good job with me and my sister, and another thing I want to add to this, like, people make a lot of excuses. Like, I was born with a liver disease, like, and people love to make excuses and stuff. And I don't want to say this right now to make anyone feel bad or anything, but I think, like, people need to just kind of own up. And no matter what, like, you may have going on, everyone has problems. Just because you think your problems are no bigger than Malcolm's or Quan's or mine. Like, everyone's problems are the same, and everyone has them. So I think don't let those problems be one of your excuses to not do something. Just go for it. And, don't let that excuse or whatever hold you back.
I like that. Man. I like that ending, how he just ended that.
I know. There's probably a lot of business owners who could utilize some of your services with trucking. Yeah. So where can they find you and find your company?
For sure. Well, Instagram, first of all, for the younger folks, I guess. I don't know how young. But
that was a shot at us.
Well, to be clear, our target audience is that 25, 34 range. I'm an analytical guy, so I always double check.
Okay, that's good. But yeah, Instagram next day. The Instagram's Next Day Freight Solution. On there, we have kind of mainly our whatever trailers we have available for rent. If anyone's needing a trailer, definitely hit me up through Instagram. And our website, nextdayfreightsolution.com, is our owner op. Application. If you want to become an owner op for Next Day Freight, go on there and make that application.
Look at that plug-in. That was awesome.
I like that. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, world, everyone, this individual, Ernie, came and told us not only did his family build their home brick by brick, right? Established a business that wasn't even governed by the government in their country. Not only did he state that he came over here and from a third world country to the States, and his family established. They started where they went from cleaning to Publix to owning a bakery to owning a trucking company. As he grew up in the trucking company, waking up at 5 in the morning to get to the bakery, all of these things that we look at and think about, and we don't even know how special these moments are, right? We take it for granted.
100%.
For those that are listening, I want to say, anything is definitely possible. You just got to look at what's in front of you. Sometimes it could look bad, but it's okay. There's inner seeds that you can water, and then there's outer seeds of caring what other people think, and that's why most of us don't succeed. Focus on the inner seed, and you'll become the next person that's just like owning the next freight, right? Anything's possible, but the 99% has to actually dwell and push forward. If you want a difference, be the difference. If you got to be the difference, make sure it's for someone else that you care about. Learn your why, and your why will earn you money, 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 and you'll be a part of the 1 percentile. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Knucklehead Podcast. I'm Malcolm.
I'm Quan. That was a phenomenal closing. This is the first time we did that.
This is Ernie. Nice effort. Appreciate
Yeah.
you guys.
Great job. Thanks, Ernie, for showing up, man.
No,
Appreciate
thank you guys.